position deal with colleges, or is it just
they grant loans?
Okay,
they
cover.
They are a bank.
Yeah.
So that was her point. She was saying the Department of Education sits on a $9 billion bankroll for granting student loans.
And they have a SWAT team.
Miss DeVos, I don't think you're qualified. Have you ever had any direct experience running a $9 billion loan agency?
Yeah, just my gardening budget. My gardening budget for our estates.
Well, hers, maybe, but who does?
Nobody.
Are you telling me any of the previous Secretary of Educations have had, that
kind of experience?
In my last job, I was running a $9 billion student loan industry.
Well,
come on.
They also were trying to say that she didn't have, experience with taking out college loans, and she didn't have to.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
CEOs can run business. They're administrators, right? They run businesses. They don't necessarily have to know every detail about the businesses that they oversee.
Well, and that was...
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And
the CEO of General Motors probably didn't turn a wrench on the assembly line, although...
Maybe.
But,
well... Right.
Just an example.
I think there's a couple things wrong with that. One, the fact that she made it through school and didn't use student loans, that means somebody made a good decision along the way.
Right.
That's a good thing in my mind. Yeah. She should encourage, if you're going to be in some place of authority in education.
And somebody was using that against her. Because Bernie Sanders was saying, why can't we have free education? And somebody said, well, you don't know anything about that because your education was free because your parents and your money paid for your education, so you got it for free.
Yeah. Well, and Betsy DeVos kind of schooled him because she said very simply, nothing is free, Mr. Sanders.
That's true. And he went, whoa, 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 whoa. And then he avoided it.
Yeah.
That can't be the first time he's ever heard that.
I wouldn't think so.
No.
But I'm not so sure.
Jesus. I don't know.
Anyway, I don't know if I like Betsy DeVos or not.
I don't know either.
I am a big fan of...
I wonder if she'll get it.
Of moving... She will. I am a big fan of moving control of education away from the federal government. Right. In fact, I would really support Betsy DeVos if her platform was shutting down the entire Department of Education. Yeah. Because that's what...
And put herself out of a job.
That's what actually should happen. And that's what I've been thinking this whole time.
She also said her salary would be $1 a year. That was just out before we went on air. I read that.
White privilege.
$1 a year. So already she saved her salary.
Yeah. Yeah, people are going back and forth like she's good, she's not good. And the real line should be this shouldn't be a job that she can apply for. There shouldn't be a federal Department of Education. It just shouldn't exist.
I know. That's your argument.
And I'm right.
We'll see.
I'm right. Now what? Speaking of education.
Really?
No.
Okay. Education does apply to this. Minimum wage, right?
Oh, hey, it went up.
It did in Michigan.
It did, yeah. In Michigan, right.
Yeah, you got to...
I think it's like $8.90 in Michigan now. $8.90 an hour is minimum wage starting January 1st.
I thought it was $36 an hour.
It should be. There's no reason to not make it $36 an hour.
You could live on that.
$36 an hour?
Yeah.
Most people could.
I think that's more than I make. Damn it. I want to make that.
Yeah. What was your point here?
Well, some people are saying you can't live on it. Other people say, well, you could live on minimum wage. Not well.
Yeah, no one said you could.
Right, and that's not the point. You're not going to have cable TV, and you're not going to have a brand new car, and you're not. But you probably necessarily wouldn't starve. You'd have a place to live.
Well, so
you'd have some, what they say, Roman noodles.
Look,
made in Rome.
Minimum wage, if you work full time, minimum wage, you're talking $1,500 a month ish in Michigan.
In Michigan,
$8.90 an hour. I don't know of any.
You've done the math?
I have done the math. I don't know of any 40-hour-a-week jobs that pay minimum wage. Very few people make minimum wage.
Right. Usually it's a little more because nobody wants to work for it.
Well, and the stats are skewed because they count waitresses and servers at restaurants because they make at or below minimum wage.
Right.
But not in reality at most restaurants. They make much more than minimum wage. But anyway, yeah, $1,500 an hour, right? So
no, not an hour. A month.
You could live on that.
I could live on $1,500 an hour.
$1,500.
It's like your surgeon gets that.
I was thinking of your salary. Yeah. Actually, $1,500 an hour.
Yeah, that's right.
The surgeon did make
lots of money.
More than that. Actually,
yeah, he did.
Well, I don't know what he made. I shouldn't say that.
He made like $1 billion.
I know what the bill.
An hour.
I know what the bill was. Yeah. What was I saying?
For the sex change again.
Yeah, what was I saying though?
Minimum wage, you can live on it.
Oh, around $1,500 a month. So
rent and all that.
Rent $800,
and you get most of that back.
What, taxes?
Yeah,
you're
not
going to
really
have any taxes.
Right.
So $800 a month rent. That leaves you what, $700 out of your $1,500 per month. So that's $185 a week for utilities.
You said a month,
and get $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
Minus your $800 a month.
So how much is that a month for outside your rent?
$700 a month, which is like what? It's
groceries, like transportation.
$185 a week.
Well, you have
something like that
for insurance,
for groceries, transportation, insurance.
Yeah. And you could ride the bus if you had to. You don't need insurance for cars. You don't have a car payment. You don't have gas.
You better not have a car payment. Look, that's the thing.
It's certainly not a great living,
and I don't mean
but you could live on it.
And I don't mean it to be a jerk, but if you're making minimum wage and you have a car payment, you've made a bad choice because you can't afford it.
And you've made a bad choice if you're 30 years old and making minimum wage.
What are you saying? I just turned 30.
Yeah, and
that's not nice.
You're making big bucks.
Well, what's funny is most of the people I have this discussion with, first of all, they're using the internet, so I don't know what that means, but usually what they say is, when I made minimum wage, I had a really hard time, so I had to find a job that paid more. Right.
That's the idea.
That's the point.
Yeah. You try to get better and make more and more and more and more.
Most people do.
You're not guaranteed a living, right?
No, but Bernie Sanders thinks we should be.
Yeah.
He would have been a great president.
Okay. So this is right here in Michigan. Michigan teacher sends a letter home.
Oh, yeah.
Williamston. This is not far from where I live. He doesn't want to let his fourth graders watch the inauguration because it might be too shocking and traumatic for them. So he wrote a letter to parents, and I'm going to read that letter.
Okay.
And this is getting international news, right? And Steve Gruber, who is a local radio personality, this is his school district where his kids are, and he broke the story.
Oh.
So, dear parents, because I am concerned about my students and your child being exposed to language and behavior that is not in concert with the most conservative social and family values, I have decided to show the inauguration of Donald Trump this Friday, but will not view Donald Trump's inaugural speech because every peaceful transition of power is a historic moment. I put in a request to the Trump team to preview the speech. So he wanted them to send them what the speech would be. But I have not heard back from them. Really? I imagine that. I showed the speeches of President Obama and Bush in 2009, 2005, respectively, because that's after the fact, right? But I am anxious about showing Mr. Trump's inaugural address, given his past inflammatory and degrading comments about minorities and women and the disabled. I am also uneasy about Mr. Trump's casual use of profanity. So I thought an assurance that as their teacher, I would not be exposing children to language that would not appear in G or PG movies. I do not know if Mr. Trump's speech is something that would be provided to the press or concerned citizens beforehand, but these plans may change if I hear back from him. Hopefully, Brett Meteor.
So here's the deal. This guy's a douche. Secondly, pretty sure you can show his speech if that's what you do in your class, and it will be just fine. Thirdly, you could just not show the speech and not send your little snowflake letter to parents.
Right.
And not make a big deal about it. And fourthly, this guy's a douche.
Yeah.
So we are out of time, though.
We are.
So
All right.
All right. See you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.